On this edition of Southern Newsweek, Dunedin is ramping up to host the Women's FIFA World Cup next year, with its new mascot revealed. Queenstown has finally reopened one of its major downtown shopping centres, and thousands of nurses walked off the job last week, striking for pay parity. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Hannah Wilkins. Dunedin is set to host 6 matches of next year's FIFA Women's World Cup, with individual tickets now on offer. The news was confirmed this week during an event at the Logan Park Turf, where the tournament's new mascot was also revealed.
Keeping up the momentum as Dunedin starts warming up for the Women's FIFA World Cup. Southern United football players practice their skills at the Logan Park Turf, alongside the next generation of soccer players. The event marks the news that individual tickets are now on sale for next year's World Cup, with Dunedin set to stage 6 of the pool games.
The global audience of 2 billion people is huge, and so the potential advantage to Dunedin is quite colossal in terms of our tourism industry, but also in terms of the visibility of Dunedin and its ability to sell products overseas.
Dunedin will also be hosting some top teams, with the Netherlands, Japan, Costa Rica and Argentina all hoping to hit the back of the net when they play here in July. Team bases are still to be confirmed, but CEO of the FIFA tournament, Dave Beach, says it's likely a team will call Dunedin home.
With a base camp option, it really means that the local community can engage with the team that's staying there, and they sort of adopt them as a second team, and we can do all the cultural engagement around it. It's a really exciting part of the evolution of the game.
Dunedin footballer and coach Tessa Nicol has been involved in this sport since she was 5 and believes the women's game's come a long way.
When I was growing up, there wasn't really any programs, so the fact that we've now got lots of different things happening in a lot of different spaces that are inclusive of everybody is pretty cool. And then obviously the pinnacle event, you've got Women's World Cup coming to New Zealand, that's amazing.
Tournament mascot Tazuni looked at home in Otago despite the heat of the day, with spectators getting to see more of the giant penguin around next year's games. In Dunedin, the South today.
A community open day was held in Roxburgh last weekend to discuss options to help with New Zealand's electricity problems. Pumped hydro technology and creating a storage battery is being proposed at Lake Onslow, but some locals have concerns.
This open day by the NZ Battery Project in Roxburgh was the first real chance for the community to learn more about the ideas of pumped hydro and storage batteries. The energy technologies being proposed as a way of addressing the country's dry year problem across its hydroelectric schemes. The government, through MB, is funding investigations into the feasibility of a scheme in central Otago. The project would use a hydro pump in Lake Onslow to pump water into a lower reservoir to create power when it's needed. But at times when there's excess power, the water would be pumped back up to prevent the lake from drying out. Backers believe this would help ease the country's power problems during dry years.
But what we have done is we found there is a real problem. You need to do something to address energy in the future. So you can do it now, or you can kick the can down the road and do it a little bit later.
But to create the pump, farmland would have to be flooded out to create the lower reservoir, leaving some farmers highly unimpressed by the grand project.
Generally, most farmers that are directly affected by flooding would rather not see it happen. It's going to... This causes a lot of uncertainty for them at the moment for the next 2 or 3 years.
$30 million has been set aside by MB to investigate the first phase of the scheme. The government will review the research and consider other options before deciding whether to push forward with the next 2 stages over the coming decade. In Roxburgh, the South today.
Queenstown's major downtown shopping centre O'Connell's has finally reopened its doors. One of the world's leading luxury travel retailers, DFS, is stamping its mark on the tourist town, taking over much of the revamped mall for its Tea Galleria duty-free store.
Shoppers enjoying some entertainment as they browse through the new Tea Galleria travel retail store. It's a big investment by the DFS group in Queenstown as part of a $26 million redevelopment of the O'Connell's shopping centre. Over the last 2.5 years, the interior of the 4-level building's been gutted and completely rebuilt.
It truly stands out to all the buildings in Queenstown, and we are proud of what we've constructed and what we've built over here.
Two of the floors house retail outlets, with the lower level eat space still being completed. And while the pandemic threw some curveballs, Mabu Bunny's proud of how his team pulled together to get the project finished. The Luxury Travel Retail Centre features more than 100 international and national brands, staffed by a diverse team that can speak 16 different languages.
The aim is for us to continue to learn, be a department store for every customer in Queenstown and every traveller who's visiting Queenstown as well.
Another 3 high-end brands are also planning to open in Queenstown CBD after seeing the confidence the DFS Group has in the resort town. In Queenstown, the South Today.
Guy Fawkes Night is this weekend, and every year the SPCA receives dozens of calls relating to fireworks. Concerns often include frightened and injured animals, missing pets and occasionally abuse of animals.
It's an annual commemoration celebrated in many countries around the world. Restrictions have tightened around Guy Fawkes Night in recent times, but New Zealanders can still buy fireworks between the 2nd and 5th of November each year. The minimum purchase age was raised to 18 years in 2006. But charity, the SPCA, has been campaigning against the domestic sale of fireworks for many years due to the effect they have on animals.
So we want to make sure that people have got their microchips up to date, so that if something does happen, we can call you if your animal comes to us or if it goes to the vet or the pound. Securing your gates, securing your fencing, and making sure they're inside is the biggest thing if you can.
Animal welfare team leader Sam Cairns says it's not just indoor pets which can be traumatised by the loud bangs and bright flashes of fireworks, with animals in paddocks also suffering.
The noises of the fireworks can be really disruptive. It can change their patterns of behaviour. They can stop feeding, they could abandon their young, the stress can kill them. So we need to think about those animals too.
Cairns is pleading with people planning to set off fireworks in their neighbourhoods to speak with animal owners nearby to ensure their pets are in safe and caring hands during festivities. In Christchurch, the South Today.
More than 4,000 primary healthcare and Plunkett nurses walked off the job across the country for 4 hours last week. The industrial action was an attempt to get pay parity with their colleagues employed by Te Whatu Ora New Zealand.
Damp conditions failed to deter around 300 people gathering at the Bridge of Remembrance in Christchurch as part of a nationwide rally. These nurses and supporters among more than 4,000 primary healthcare and Plunkett nurses taking to the streets in strike action today. They're fighting to be paid the same rates as their colleagues employed by Health New Zealand, Te Whatu Ora.
Nurses are sick of it, and we are here to fight, and we're determined we're going to get our pay parity.
Denise Moore has been in the nursing profession for 40 years. Her feelings are echoed by NZNO Industrial Advisor Danielle Davies, who says their fight has been going on prior to the transition to the Whatu Ora organisation. Strikers say today's action was a last resort.
It's not easy to go on strike. They don't want to go away from the whānau and the patients that they look after every day.
Dialysis patient Jodie Devine decided to join the nurses after walking by the protest, keen to support them as a regular patient at Christchurch Hospital.
Like a war zone, that's how one of the nurses described it, short-staffed.
In Dunedin, around 60 protesters braved rainy weather to campaign near Queen's Gardens. NZNO organiser Gail Arthur believes there's no difference between nurses employed by different organisations apart from the pay rate.
They're just as qualified, they see their sisters working in what was a DHB before, earning 10 to 20% more than them.
A mix of Plunkett and practice nurses took part in the Dunedin protest. They were grateful for public support and insist they're worth as much as their colleagues employed by Health NZ.
We have the same training, same qualifications, sometimes more qualifications, and all the people in Dunedin have just been so supportive.
Unions say today's action followed almost a year of negotiations over pay and conditions. Across the South Today.
A top Dunedin chef is dipping his toes into the world of reality TV with a stint on New Zealand's newest cooking competition. Greg Piner is a guest judge on TVNZ's barbecue cooking show Cooks on Fire and admits he was impressed with the contestants' abilities.
Showing off his knife skills while getting some prep work done for service. Greg Piner is currently head chef at Marbeck's Cafe in Dunedin, but is also starring as guest judge on TV1's brand new series Cooks on Fire. It's a reality cooking competition based around barbecuing, a topic close to his heart. Pioneer is well seasoned behind the grill, but even he was impressed with what the contestants had to offer.
You'll be absolutely blown away at what they achieve on a barbecue. I was just stunned, absolutely stunned, the way that they showed great respect for the product and really basically making that hero sing.
7 teams are competing for a top prize of $30,000 in the TV show. It was a new experience for Pioneer, who spent 12 years cooking in Queenstown before moving to Dunedin. He's headed up a number of notable restaurant kitchens, serving recently as head chef at No. 7 Belmac. But he traded in those high-pressure jobs to work at Marbeck's Cafe, which gives him more freedom to work as a Silver Farms ambassador and spend time with his family.
I decided that I wanted to have more of a work-life balance, and now I'm at Marbeck's, this wonderful foodie heaven in the mall.
Pioneer's episode as guest judge is set to air on Thursday night, with the Dunedin chef already cooking up more exciting projects with Silver Fern Farms. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Still to come on this edition of Southern Newsweek, a Dunedin house pulled out all the stops to turn their home into a horrific display, and one train enthusiast celebrated the arrival of a special locomotive. Tēnā koe, welcome back. Trick-or-treaters hit the streets around the south this week, with Halloween fans in Dunedin able to get an extra spooky fix. The Glenelg Haunt display open to the public, ready to fuel nightmares with their biggest display yet.
Visitors getting their fair share of frights as they cautiously creep through the displays of the Glenelg Haunt. It's the 5th year for the event and has taken 3 months of preparation, featuring a collection of ghosts or ghouls, with creator Samantha Haid picking the little girl's room as the best of her displays this year. But she's also taken in feedback from previous years and created a less scary kids area to reduce the fright factor for younger visitors.
Screaming and crying, some just go around in awe and amazement and just not too sure what to make of it all. But yeah, a few tears and a few parents saying afterwards their children had nightmares.
The displays are changed up every year. Some pieces are handmade by Haid with a helping hand from a dozen family and friends. She says Halloween's been a special holiday for her since she was a kid, with her mum always throwing parties for the occasion.
Yeah, definitely love it. It's a passion of mine. I'm an early childhood teacher, so I like bringing a little bit of magic and imagination.
And she's already started an inspiration board thinking of ideas for next year's show. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Fireworks went on sale across the country on Wednesday. However, some Otago residents may have to travel to set off their pyrotechnics, with a fireworks ban announced for many parts of the region. And Fire and Emergency New Zealand is urging caution to anyone planning to set off fireworks.
Fireworks are on sale and set to go up in smoke, but not in many parts of Otago, including Mount Iron, Shag Point and Albert Town's Recreational Reserve, where bans are in place. And Fire and Emergency New Zealand has strong words of warning to people planning to set off fireworks over the next few days.
Particularly in Otago, there's a lot of bans under the Fire and Emergency Act in regards to letting off fireworks, that it's not okay to let fireworks off, and it's actually an offence to let fireworks off in those banned areas.
FENZ says banning fireworks in these high-risk locations is another way of minimising the risk of wildfires. Wayne Hamilton says common sense is essential, and anyone being dangerous or irresponsible with fireworks can expect penalties.
Now, we've had incidents where people were just being ridiculous and firing fireworks out of vehicles. Not an ideal thing to do that. If you see someone doing that, please ring 111 immediately and ask for police. They will allocate it through to both fire and police to make sure that it's dealt with appropriately.
He's asking the public to take care and says you shouldn't light fireworks near buildings or dry vegetation, or when there are strong winds. FENZ is recommending most people leave fireworks to the professionals at public displays. Across the South Today.
A tourist train with a special history pulled into Dunedin railway station this week. Passengers on board the heritage train were keen to disembark and explore the city, while hardcore rail enthusiasts were on the platform waiting to greet the classic carriages.
It's full steam ahead for the summer tourist season as the Sir Edmund Hillary Explorer swept through Blanket Bay late yesterday. It was the Heritage Train's final tracks ahead of a stop at the Dunedin railway station, delighting local rail enthusiasts.
I'm very pleased that it did come down because I am a train enthusiast right from knee-high to a grasshopper.
The classic 1950s excursion train is painted in red livery in memory of the famous explorer and now runs tours up and down the South Island. For the first leg of its journey between Picton to Kaikoura, a classic 1915 steam engine hauled the 6 carriages.
The engine had that power, the steam power, and I know how to do the sound of a steam locomotive going uphill. And it blew the whistle, it went, and then it went, up the hill, climbing to Kaikoura.
About 150 passengers hopped off in Dunedin to explore the city before the Sir Edmund Hillary Explorer continues its journey south to Invercargill. In Dunedin, the South Today.
After a 2-year hiatus, the Hindu Festival of Lights returned to Invercargill. A large crowd of Southlanders celebrated Diwali last weekend, helping bring the community together.
Lights flashing and performers showing off their moves as Diwali celebrations get underway in the deep south. The Indian community of Southland hosted the Diwali Festival of Lights over the weekend at Invercargill's ILT Stadium. The event proved popular. Within 5 minutes of doors opening on Saturday morning, the stadium was almost full. Around 3,000 people of all ages passed through the doors throughout the day. Organisers wanted to stage a festival in Southland to help bring the community together. Diwali is seen as being about the winning of light over dark and good over evil. A variety of activities were on offer for the crowds, with a roster of performers showcasing their singing and dancing skills, along with plenty of food and activities. In Invercargill, the South Today.
After the break on Southern Newsweek, the Otago Polytech is auctioning off houses built by students, and it's not the first time the event's been around the block. And while Lilliput Library is switching it up by making sure there's something available for dogs as well as their owners. Tēnā koe, welcome back. Te Pukenga Otago Polytech is preparing for its annual charity house auction next month. The first open home was held recently, showcasing the student-built house, which will raise money for charities in Otago.
Otago Polytech students admiring their handiwork before this completed house goes up for auction. The 15th annual charity house auction is set to be held next month, with a series of open homes to give potential buyers a chance to see inside. 25 Level 3 pre-trade carpentry students started building this house almost a year ago as part of their course. Their lecturers are carpenters themselves, meaning the project is a great opportunity to pass knowledge down the generations.
It's good for us older chippies to get involved in the Polytech and passing on skills and getting all the young ones, giving them a good opportunity with work ethic.
Over the past 14 years, the charity project's raised more than $1.1 million for Otago charities. Local businesses also support the efforts, contributing to the fit-out of the 4-bedroom insulated homes. It's a process that helps out the community, while also giving students a solid real-world project to further their skills.
It's good teamwork and good collaboration between everyone, and we always know that we can get really good help from the lecturers.
The house is due to go up for auction in mid-November. Proceeds from the sale will be donated to the Catalytic Foundation, who will distribute the funds to a range of charities around Otago. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Otago University students are being offered a range of quality kai on campus to help them get through exam season. Staffed by experts from the Department of Human Nutrition, the food truck's aiming to feed growing minds.
Providing good, nutritious kai over a particularly stressful period. End of year exam season is upon tertiary students who are busy cramming. But that means it's often difficult making time to prepare meals while studying. This food truck has been set up on Otago University's campus for a limited time. Mary Spears from the Department of Human Nutrition says the goal is to fill empty tummies to help fuel studying brains.
Every minute is valuable to a studying student. So our mission here really is to see what we can do with this food environment so that our students are fueled appropriately with some pretty much nutritious food.
The trailer is providing meals as part of a trial aimed at making sure students are still eating properly during the stressful time of the year. Meals on offer include Mexican bowls, curries, falafel flatbreads, burgers, quesadillas, bao buns and a range of sweets for dessert. And Spears says they're aiming to cater for a wide range of dietary requirements.
We usually have a vegetarian meal as well as a meat-containing meal.
The trailer's parked outside the University Union, with more than 60 meals a day being sold over the past 2 weeks. Organisers have surveyed students as part of the trial. They'll be using that information to decide whether there's a need to expand the service in the coming weeks. In Dunedin, the South Today.
A pair of 75-year-old twins are bucking the trend that adventure sports are for the young. The enthusiastic twins celebrated their joint birthday recently by ziplining above Christchurch's Port Hills.
Ziplining often attracts the young and adventurous, but a pair of 75-year-old twins are challenging the idea.
I said to David that I thought we should do something a bit special for our birthday.
For our 75th.
I had something in mind, and David said straight away, zip lines.
With another 2 sets of considerably younger twins, the brothers kit up to ride high into the hills of the Christchurch Adventure Park. This is David's first ride on a zip line and a bit of a cause for concern. From here on, it's all downhill. A heart-pumping 3K's ride to the bottom. As expected, the twins compete for the lead.
This last one here is 1.1 kilometres long, and apparently we get up to 100 k's an hour in our harnesses.
Do we have harnesses? I thought we just hung on.
The Christchurch Adventure Park zipline circuit is the longest set in New Zealand and takes about 2.5 hours to complete. And with its dual lines, zipping together made the brothers' experience that much better.
It was great fun. Thoroughly recommend it.
It was great. It's fantastic.
It's not every year the twins get to hang out for their birthday. In Christchurch, the South Today.
The Southland Fire Museum is preparing a new exhibit commemorating some of Invercargill's bravest from the past. An old memorial stone for local firefighters who fought in World War I has been restored more than 100 years after it was made.
Taking in the rich history of the Invercargill Fire Department, the Southland Fire Museum has had this Fire Brigade memorial stone restored. It was originally unveiled in the early 1900s. The World War I Fighters Stone will now be mounted on a wall at the museum, allowing the names to be seen by the public and remembered by everyone.
It's something that we can show that this is what the museum is all about. It's not sticking a piece of something up on the wall and saying here's a few photos, here's a few names. It's recording the people.
He says most of the men returned home after the war, with a majority continuing on with the fire brigade. Some of the families have been contacted about the unveiling. Many are still locals involved with the fire service, making the event even more special.
Yeah, I'm getting very excited actually. Yeah, and our members here, we're all looking forward to it.
The stone will be on display from late November, allowing visitors to pay their respects. In Invercargill, the South Today.
A Dunedin couple have made a canine-friendly addition to their Lilliput book library. They've installed a mini dog library, which offers some appropriate treasures for their furry friends.
Man's best friend sniffing out his next treat from this new treasure trove of sticks. Swapna and John Haddo decided to create a dog library in their Dunedin suburb of Roslyn, inspired after seeing a similar one on social media. Their dog Archie already had a hoard of sticks, making the decision to put in the dog library a walk in the park.
We've sort of accumulated quite a few, which was another reason why we thought we'd have the dog library, in that perhaps we could give them back to the world.
John says the new library has been popular with the local canines, but they aren't the only ones getting enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, and I really do get a bit of a kick out of watching dogs coming over and taking an actual stick out of the box.
Yeah.
And toddling off with it.
It's located under the Lilliput Library in Roslyn, and while persuading these four-legged borrowers to return their items may prove difficult, they're hoping dog owners will assist with the take a stick, leave a stick plan. In Dunedin, the South Today.
That wraps up this edition of Southern Newsweek. For the latest news and videos from the Southern region, head online to odt.co.nz. And you can follow Channel 39 on YouTube to catch our news bulletins on demand. We'll see you again next week. Matiwa.
Public interest journalism funded through New Zealand On Air.